So, first of all, thank you very much, and we wish best of luck. But nothing comes free. So I'm talking on behalf of my Nepali community diaspora. We have a lot of people around in Asian diaspora and everything I talk to Josh. So there's early voting going and everything, but we should prove that. Why should we believe you? What have you done already? And what you are going to do to us? Because all politics is local, right?
Yes.
So there is interaction. Regarding Michelle, I know her 20 years, since 20 years, we worked in American Military University, she left. So I'm still a little professor there, but she became a delegate. So one thing good, we never separated our connection. So empowered the common good of the community. So what we like to do, she has given hope, and we got 250,000 grants, right? Community grants and all this. So we are waiting from Josh and I was talking one time, guys, we wanted to get Vienna Metro towards Gainesville, and we did some homework, he and me. So he wanted to call to Senator's office and Governor's office, and Michelle was helping. You know how much it costs? For 1 mile metro, how much? $1 billion. So we talk about that capital project. That level of conversation we can do, but that goes through government. So we have elected officials here. There was a give or a standing ovation. We stand up. So since I was why I say next time we want to be in your seat, maybe higher. So you need to work hard. You need to earn it. So for that, Michelle is our sister. She's community member. So every time, not only Nepali, she has done for all minority community. I asked her, why you want to run? You have all the... She used to write programming, before 90s. She's original IT kid. I said, why do you want to business? Why do you want to politics? You know what she said? No, Melanie, there is so many injustice going on in around. Let me be myself and represent themselves. So she did, she deserved. We want to see one of you in the governor office, not this time. Let's make Abby elected, then we are coming alone. Having said that, please start with Michelle. She's our delegate. She's in the ballot. We need to do our, all right? So why we believe you, Michelle? How can you?
All of you here, and I want to say that it's not just me on the ballot, and many of you, the reason why we're all here together is because we each represent or will represent where you live. Because not everybody lives here in the park or in District 20. Some of you live in Gainesville, some of you live in other parts of the county. And what I want you to know is that 3 of us are so dedicated. We're dedicated to making sure that your needs are met. We know right now things are very, very hard. Affordability is an issue. Healthcare and health insurance is an issue. Education is an issue. Jobs are an issue. We are fighting really hard, and I know that Josh in particular will have some words about that because he was appointed to sit on a special emergency committee to address the reductions in federal workforce funding and workforce and funding. So a couple things I want to just note at the top is that it is important for you to have people sitting at the state level, the local level, and the federal level who know you, who understand you, who will take the time to meet with you and get to know what's important to you, what the issues are. I'm telling you, if one of the 3 of us aren't or won't be your representative and you don't know who your representative is or your representative isn't talking with you, isn't engaged with you, you need to make them accountable. It is our responsibility, our honor, and our duty to be in conversation and engagement with you. This is my 3rd time running. It'll be my 3rd term, and I couldn't have done it without you. We have worked really hard over my first 2 terms to secure money to bring to our community, to help with the community center, to help with our community issues and challenges and heartbreaks. We have been through them together with families. And it is time for us to continue to do that good work. When I get back into session, knock on wood, wherever it is, I plan to continue that work of making sure that we're bringing resources. Thank you. I can't reach that high, Tim. I plan to continue bringing resources to our community, whether it's financial, it's programmatic. As many of you know, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month as well as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, both of which are huge issues in our community. And just as a side note, we have Care Bears for anybody who has children, works with children. Please feel free to take. They're comfort bears, really, is what we call them. And we bring them every year to our annual Domestic Violence Awareness Forum. So you'll see some teddy bears over there. Feel free to take it. Nobody will judge you if you're an adult walking out with a teddy bear, I promise. But seriously, so we have funding things that we want to do to bring additional funds to the community. What is challenging is that there are reductions in federal funding that help support and work with our own budget as a state. So we're going to be in a position going into the next cycle of how do we fill the gap. There are some big holes. So I say this because I want everybody to be very aware of what's happening at the federal level and how it's impacting the kind of funding and money and resources we will have available to us at the state level, and how we're going to have to figure out how to do the same or more with less. So keep that in mind as we all work together and we are creative. The other thing that I plan to work on is continuing to work with our school systems. In the last 12 months, not just this session, but last session, I was able to secure $72 million for English language learners because we have so many children in our schools where English is not the first language. So we were able to secure that, and we also did some other things for our educators, which I won't say so that other people can talk about that. And then finally, workforce development. We have small businesses. Many of us, especially those of us who come from immigrant communities, many of us come here and we create our own businesses. That is the backbone, the pipeline of what runs our local and state economies. And so really looking for ways to help support business and the economy and create opportunities to develop skills for workforce, whether it's in the trades or whether it's through college or whether it's through any other means working already in careers. So I just want to say that essentially I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, but I'm going to keep doing it with you so that we can make sure we're all crossing the finish line together, that our families are supported, that our kids are taken care of, and that we have opportunity, yes, but also access. And so with that, I just want to say thank you again. And I want to turn it over to Delegate Josh Thomas, and I want to say that I have had the pleasure of serving with both of these people, wonderful people. They are incredible legislators. And y'all know that what matters to me is if you have integrity and you have heart and compassion and accountability. Those things matter to me, and if you are lacking in those areas, I'm not going to stand with you. These two, they hold all of that, and they fight for you. They fight for the people that they represent, and I could not be happier and more honored to serve with them.
Part of the Gainesville area, and my soon-to-be colleague here is going to represent the other part of Gainesville. But again, I am Josh Thomas, representing House District 21. And even though I'm in the city, I'd still like to acknowledge some of my fellow city politicians over here. We've got Commissioner DeMaria, and then also Councilwoman Vasquez-Luna for the round of applause. And then if we can give one more round of applause to Delegate Maldonado, please. Yes. Because as inspired and as much as I love this community, there is no stronger advocate for the Nepalese community in the legislature than this delegate right here. And so just one more. So what have we done for you over the last 2 years? Why should you even give us the time of day, even though Michelle is just a great person to get to know, would probably be your friend anyway? Why should you stand up here and come here today and listen to us? Well, we made a commitment that we would focus on 3 key areas. The first one is making sure that there was a family-friendly economy that works for you. And I'll give you something very specific that we pushed and were able to pass. Now, the governor vetoed it, but I think we'll be able to bring it back and pass it this time under a Governor Spamberger. And that is focusing on small businesses, because there is a lot of opportunity in this room. But some things that are just small barriers sometimes hold people back. Things like language sometimes. So we passed a bill that said you could take certain exams, certain contracting exams to own your own contracting business in your language of choice, so that there's no barrier holding back the immense amount of opportunity that is here in the city of Manassas and Prince William County. When we said that we were going to do a world-class education, which was the second big thrust that we had, you heard Delegate Maldonado talk a little bit about what we brought. We also brought increases in teacher pay so that we can retain and continue to recruit the best educators for our students. We also dumped a lot of money into broadening our special education programs, and importantly, because I think sometimes we in the legislature get a bad rap for maybe just focusing on the least of us, but I'd like to tell you today that we are also focusing on the other end of the spectrum to make sure that public education is hard, is challenging, that your children, your bright children are challenged so that they have great opportunities to either go into the trades, get jobs, or indeed if they want, go to university. So what we did this past session is put more money into science and math programs to make those more challenging and provide more opportunities for your children. Finally, safety. What it means to protect our communities. There's some amendments that are going to be on the ballot, but I'll leave that for some others to talk about here today. I'll talk about physical security. I'm a Marine. It's something I know very well. The governor this year signed a bill that we as Democrats put forward, which says that if you sell fentanyl, that drug here in our community in Manassas or anywhere in the Commonwealth, and that drug ends up killing someone, you will now go to jail for manslaughter. And what did we see? Thank you. And what did we already see this year? For the first time, we're seeing a decrease in the number of fentanyl overdose deaths here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is Democrats standing up to the plate with a very clear message of an economy that works for you, of an education that's world-class for your children, and physically protecting you, but also protecting your rights. And that's just what we've done in 2 years. Because there's a really, really big issue on the horizon for us, and Delegate Maldonado touched on that, and that is the spending cuts and the federal firings that have occurred. Now, I sat on that committee, and I can tell you right now, I don't mean to be scary, but there is a $2 billion hole in our budget. Everything from health insurance premiums to funding for children to eat at school. Very serious but basic issues that we all thought everyone had a right to, and that was health care and to eat. And not to mention issues with transportation, housing, an entire litany of issues that are going to affect your families. So if you send us back, we are going to do right by the Virginia family, because I'll tell you, we're the only party actually talking about doing right by the Virginia family. We're the only ones considering changing what the unemployment insurance regime looks like. We're the only ones considering investing to make sure that your premiums for health insurance don't go up if you're on the exchange. We're the only ones considering what it means to actually pay for the SNAP programs to make sure children are fed, which is why we need your help. We need you to come out, we need you to knock doors, we need you to make phone calls, texts, call your friends, call your family. If they live in Western Prince William County or the cities of Manassas and Manassas Park, we need your assistance. And I'll tell you why. Because my race needs a little bit of help, but the race that needs a lot of help is this woman's right here.
Yes.
And I will tell you that if we have 51 right now, I know because I am seat 51 and our 51-49 majority, but we need 55. And she's going to be that 55th seat. Because if we have 55, we pick up another seat on every committee, and that's another person voting for your family's insurance, voting for their education, voting for transportation, voting for your small businesses to thrive. And so if you can send us back, we will continue to make Virginia the best place to work, live, learn, and raise a family. Thank you very much. And now it's my privilege to introduce somebody who came to this county to raise a family, who knows what it means to spend time here, to invest her family's livelihood here, and somebody who is a fighter and we desperately need in the House of Delegates, soon to be delegate again, Elizabeth Guzman.
I'm a union sister, but I like to be known as a fighter for working families and vulnerable communities. I came to this country with $300 in my pocket and a little girl, looking for opportunities. But once I got here, those opportunities became available to me. I came here with no higher education. This country gave me the opportunity to achieve higher education. Today, I have 2 master's degrees, one in public administration, another one on social work, and a successful career in local government. This country showed me that anyone who's willing to sacrifice and work hard will be able to achieve the American dream. And right now, we are not living easy times for us, because we have a person in the White House who's trying to wash away all of our dreams and our accomplishments. But we're here today to give you hope, to look at the future, because in Virginia, diversity is embraced and will never be disrespected. I was proud to be elected as the first immigrant to represent Prince William County. And it was the honor of my life to be your voice in Richmond. I served for 6 years in the General Assembly, introduced over 100 bills. I was recognized for the work that I have done in the General Assembly. As a mother of 4 children that I raised in the public school system, I was the legislative friend of education. which is the highest honor for any legislator to have from the Virginia Education Association. Yes, we have to protect our environment in our district. We need it desperately. So I was the legislative champion for the League of Conservation Voters, the Sierra Club. But what I'm running again, with what is happening, I wouldn't be more compelled to run to represent District 22nd this time. District 22nd includes Bristol, Knoxville, parts of Gainesville, and the outskirts of Manassas. Believe it or not, as soon as you leave the park, this is Delegate Maldonado's district. But next block is my district. So if you live on Signal Hill, and the next block is my district. So I am running because I don't like the way that this country is going at this moment. But we're here to tell you that we will fight tooth and nail to protect your constitutional rights. And we have an important election, and we have to make it personal to you. That our commitment is that with a trifecta, we win the governorship, lieutenant governor, attorney general. It's very important because that's who's going to fight for our constitutional rights. We will fight for working families, and we will make sure that Virginia will be not only #1 for business, but also #1 for working families, including immigrant families. Going into the legislature, you know, one of the things that I learned as an immigrant, that education is extremely valuable for us and for our children. And when we have a president who's attacking our public education, including special education or English language learners, it's important to me as I took advantage of the system. So we will ensure during the last 8 years we have made the largest investments in public education. But we can stop. We have an opportunity now to expand those opportunities to 4-year-olds, to protect our public universities, because that is the path for our children to get world-class education. Our public universities are the best in the nation. So there is one reason why this president is coming first for University of Virginia. Now he's in George Mason, and he will try to do more. But please know that we'll be there in the General Assembly pushing back to protect the future of our children. You know, healthcare. When I was in the legislation in 2017, I campaigned on expanding Medicaid. And now we have 700,000 individuals taking advantage of healthcare. And these are working Virginians who live in poverty. So now, you know, we have this negotiating this budget where we want to leave behind not only people without Medicaid, but also those who get access through the marketplace. You know, for us who are here for a long time, we knew that it was really hard to get private insurance on your own. It was almost impossible. But then we had Obamacare that provided health care to so many people in poverty. And yes, health care is a human right and not a privilege, and the federal government did the right thing by providing those subsidies. But right now, we are negotiating a budget. People are going to Congress to talk about many things. They want to gerrymander other states, but they don't want to talk about health care. But in Virginia, we'll continue to protect those who are taking advantage of Medicaid, because how is that going to affect us? So don't think that just because you have private insurance, that is not going to affect you. You realize the last 6 years in Virginia, your health rates have been stable, kind of stable. In the past, we will have $300 increases, $400 increases every year. So since it's insurance, when we have less amount of people insured, then the people who are insured are the ones who are going to pay the price. So we need to ensure that we elect officials who care about health care and protect the health care not only to those privileged, but for working families. And then finally, you know, we're going to have constitutional amendments this upcoming election, and we are going to talk about women's reproductive rights that are very important. Access to contraception, it's important. You know, we are going to protect our voting rights. We have to vote for that. And then we also believe in second chances. So we believe in reinstating voting rights for former felons. And there's not people already paid for whatever their sentence was. And part of that reinstatement to society should be that they could cast their votes again. We don't need to be scared about participating. while the other side is trying to suppress the vote. We're here expanding opportunities. We have early vote, no excuse, that I will invite you to participate. It's open from Monday through Saturday next week. You don't need an excuse. You are not registered to vote. Don't worry about it. You can go cast your vote and register to vote that day because thank you. So thank you so much for having me here today. I truly appreciate the opportunity. We have 9 more days to go, and let's ensure that in Virginia we have elected officials that look like Virginia.
I would like to recommend we need to issue the citation for them from the delegate's office. What do you think, guys?
Yes.
They are doing excellent job, right? So thank you, Nepali, and there are thousands of people and Miss Guzman. So you have now people. So a lot of Nepalis are living in your district.
Yes.
So right, half of the caste belong to your district now.
If you could speak just a little bit, and then I'll pass it over to Delegate Maldonado and then to Delegate Josh Thomas, because I think you also, she loves talking to people so much, she has to go knock doors shortly, so I want to make sure that she gets an opportunity to speak on.
She leaves, she also has to try some of them.
And then we will eat momo. It's the best day to eat momo because it's nice and cold, so it'll keep you warm, so thank for that. But
We need
yeah,
that.
so affordability in terms of housing, both for renters and ownerships as well.
Well, I would start by saying that as a parent, I'm really concerned about my children and their inability to be able to live in Prince William County, right? Everything is getting too expensive. But Democrats in the legislature this past year passed a bill that was vetoed by Governor Youngkin that will provide an incentive for first-time home buyers. So that's what we need to talk about, opportunities for our children so they could stay in the community that they were raised. That is extremely important. When I look at affordability, I like to think about the future as well. So we have to invest in a public education. Virginia public education is extremely important. So if we protect those opportunities by providing more resources for children while they are in school, so we can teach them the techniques with specialty programs that we have so many in Prince William County, and we have to do more. As upcoming legislature, I wanted to ensure that we have a specialty program in high schools for certified nursing assistants. And I'm gonna work on that after I'm elected. But those are opportunities that we have to do. The way that we are gonna secure the future of our children is by investing in public education. And remember about healthcare affordability and how important it is to protect those who are marginalized, because if we don't provide access to them, that's gonna hurt all of us. So it's just not about why do we have to give health insurance to those who don't have the resources. It's because that by helping them, we help everybody, because our healthcare rates are going to remain stable. So thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry I have to leave. I have a canvas lunch. I'm running in the most competitive city in Northern Virginia, but remember, if you live in Prince William County, thank you for your support.
Yes.
Bristol, Knoxville, parts of Gainesville, parts of the outskirts of Manassas. Take a look at my webpage, GuzmanForVirginia.com.
One more time, what is that?
GuzmanForVirginia.com.
And who can they talk to if they want to do a shift here?
Oh, they can
We have
talk.
staff here, everyone's been told if you need help finding
Yes.
who's your legislator, everybody can help you find it out.
Yes.
Can you leave the boys here?
Is there anywhere can I just address something before you leaving?
Sure, yes.
Yes, I send the question to them. I know as you guys address here, everything is important. For us, we are from the immigrant,
Yep.
as we are experiencing, like affordability, security, like job. My 3 concern wise is a common goal, not productive health, not other one. Like you see the access, metro access, as is the Medini already addressed them. From Vienna to the either Gainesville, either Warrenton, do you have any future plan to extend that kind of access to us? Because you see, if we go to the DC, it's very hard. It takes longer time, spend extra hours, and we have to pay lots of money in the toll room. So toll is accessible, it is beneficial, but in my way, it is not beneficial. Why? If you want to, single people want to go to the DC, you have to pay less money. Why should we have to pay less money? We pay each and every time taxes. Every day when you're using the car, you're paying electricity, you're paying the gas, you're paying the taxes, you know? So everything you're purchasing, you're paying the taxes. See how much we are paying the taxes each and every single day. And we don't have other like a resources to lead the family to survive here. So surviving is the very fittest of the foundation, you know. How do we exist in this country during the crisis, job market, political issues? So many things are going around.
So the increase in taxes.
Yeah. So three question was, and second question was affordability, housing market. You can see how the house market going on since 2000. I'm here, 2003. I came to this country, so more than 20 years. I come from Europe to here. I stayed in Europe. So see, is the 2004 and 5 how the housing market was there. So 2008 was crisis, you know. So when the recession hit, see the housing market. We struggle. We study in Nepal. There is no value that degree in US. I see the degree is not value. So
to summarize,
I'm sorry.
taxes
I'm sorry to my voice is going high. So let me go to the final conclusion. And the last part is for my concern. Could we have other people have the same concern? Because we pay the car property tax. We pay every year home tax is going up. I pay car tax when I bought the new car, 500. Now it's more increase. How happy? Due to the adding the traffic and causing to the grassroots people, that is like for me unacceptable. So do you guys have any plan to either you guys completely remove the property tax, housing mag, you know, property tax is too much. We can't afford.
for time-wise, maybe.
Yeah, thank you. I should have
I'm
so
just
much.
going to handle the
but
car
I'm
tax
just-
one real quick, and then I'm going to
Yeah.
defer to soon-to-be Delegate Guzman. So the car tax, I hate it too. Ain't nobody like paying that thing.
But you guys,
house part.
I mean, Yonkin brought it and you guys
So here's
vetoed
the
it.
problem.
So, no, I read about it. I know about
There
it.
was a discussion. There was a discussion to
No.
remove it. Again, after all that.
Yes.
But again, after all that. So we're on the same page. There was a discussion to remove it. So you're with me right now?
Yes,
All right.
I am.
So there was a
Yes.
discussion to remove it. And we were getting close to being able to remove it. Because again, if you remove it, all the money that it has to get replaced, right? Because localities, you would just pull it. Whatever the locality is going to do, they're probably going to cut on education, which we don't want, right? We all want I said my kids are going to go to public school. We want our kids to get a good education. All right, so you've got to replace that money. There was a discussion with how to replace that with state money. Do you know what killed that discussion?
Tell us.
HR 1 at the federal government. When the federal government stole $2 billion away from Virginia, there is no possible way to continue that discussion because the federal government has now decided not to invest in you and in our families to the tune of $2 billion. I can tell you right now, there are revenue sources where we probably could have replaced it. But that conversation is now going to get kicked, I'm just being honest with you right now, probably 4 or 5 years down the road, because we have to now plug a hole that's $2 billion because of what the federal government.
Yeah, but my problem is car is a property which depreciates every year. So
Absolutely.
why we have to pay tax
I
on
mean,
that
I wasn't here
every
when
year?
that thing got put in. I wouldn't like it either. I'm with you. But
I mean,
the world we live in.
it's only in Virginia. Maryland doesn't have it.
Yeah.
I mean, there are few, only I think 1 or 2.
Maryland's also not going to say for business, but we can go on that on that one.
Yeah, but
Let's start on the conversation. Okay. Let's not go back and forth.
I want to touch base. So I want to touch base about Dive. I can say because I want to make sure that Delegate Elizabeth, she has to. Yeah.
Every final word she'd like to say,
Yeah,
because she really
affordability.
does need to
Yeah.
go, and then we can continue.
So going back to the car taxes, I hear you, I have 4 children, could you multiply that by the amount of cars that I pay? It's like a mortgage every year.
yes,
So,
yep.
you know, the good news
And
is
on
that
top of
both
that, you have
candidates
to-
for governor are making promises that they will work on that. So we're gonna work with them. But then, you know, you have heard about the data centers wanting to come in here. So we're gonna bring them to the table And we're gonna ask them what they can do for us, because what I hear at the doors is that, because in my district and Josh's district, we have all of these data centers, but when I see the people that I wanted to represent, they said, okay, they are bringing me pollution, they are bringing me noise, and then when I receive when I see my bill is never going down. So my commitment to you, because this is going to be a commitment not only from the governor and the General Assembly, but we also have to work with the County Board of Supervisors. And we wanted to work in a form of relief on car taxes that is tangible, that you could see it. Like when you see your property tax, and I spoke this with the chair already, because they said they reduced the percentage, but my car is getting older, but I pay more taxes, but if I wanted to sell it, then it's less expensive, so it doesn't make sense. So we have to work with them also the way that they are calculating those prices, but I think there is an opportunity to provide that data centers pay their fair share. They cannot have tax reduction.
That's the way.
You can use that money of revenue in the form of rebates on your car taxes, and I'm already having those conversations. And it doesn't have to be a percentage. It has to be very big and clear, like 50 off per vehicle, $100 off per vehicle, so people can see it and believe in us. So we're working on that. And I'm not, an elected, but I'm already having those conversations, because what I tell people is that whether it's public education, whether it's affordability, whether it's healthcare, it's personal to me. Because this is the community that I chose to raise my children and form a family. So your struggles are our struggles. I wanted you to know that just don't believe because we're elected officials, we get the big bucks in here. No, our salary is only $18,000, and it's supposed to be a part-time job.
Yeah.
But you see us everywhere and every day, so we work full-time. And we have to change that too.
Okay. That's good.
Like the common theme, it gets expressed in different ways, right? Your concerns underneath is all about affordability and access, and how do we not just survive, but that we thrive as family units, as small businesses. So I think Elizabeth hit it, and Josh, right on the head about the car tax. People have been trying to get rid of the car tax for decades. I remember when I first moved to Virginia, and my head spun around. I was like, say what? We pay money on a car we already bought? That we already paid tax on? So the reality is, remember at the beginning of my talk, I mentioned the cuts in federal dollars, federal funding. This is going to be a very difficult session. Every year, every 2-year cycle in Virginia, we create a new budget. That budget has always historically had a significant federal component in dollars. We will not have the same amount. So we are going to have to figure out how to do these things. However, just as Elizabeth said, I think there are other ways that we can do a couple of things. We can look at the ways that we're generating commercial revenue across our districts, whether it's Josh's district, Elizabeth's future district, or our district right here in the park in the two cities and parts of Manassas. We can look at the ways companies are here and paying commercial revenue to our localities. And I think there are ways to parse some of that for things like car tax, our education system, all of the resources in the community. The other thing we have to think about is making sure that we're putting the right people in the right places. Now, we're here running at the state level, but there are local races that matter as well. Tim DeMera is running for Commissioner of Revenue in the city of Manassas, but we also have people in the park that are running for Commissioner of Revenue and Treasurer. So being involved and having those conversations right at the local levels, because Virginia is what's called a Dillon rule state, which means the localities can only do what the state gives it power to do. So one of the few areas that they have agency and flexibilities around the taxes and around the programming. But that's where they generate their revenue to do all the services for each of us who live here. So it seems very simple on the surface, like why would we pay for that? But what is that? We have to also ask, where does that money go across the community? And if we were to take that funding stream away, how do we then replenish it with money to be able to cover the things that we need to do for our elders, for our children, for those with differing abilities, all of those things for our small businesses. So I just want to say that we are committed. Even last cycle, this session, I brought forward a bill that I called a pay your fair share bill for our data centers, because I think that there is opportunity there, and Delegate Thomas is a big champion in making sure there's fairness, whether it's around where we place them. The three things that I always talk about with data centers are placement, proliferation, and impact. Where we're putting them, how many we're putting out there, and what's the impact. And that impact is not just around people, but it's also around environment and energy grid and infrastructure. So we are working really hard to try and find solutions to those very questions. And that specific question around the car tax is not new. And it just got a little harder to figure out a solution. We may not be able to do it this budget cycle, but I think the conversation will absolutely continue.
I know you just touched base on the data centers, and so did Delegate Guzman, but I specifically have a question for Delegate Thomas. So in our district, there's been a lot of new data centers being built, especially by Tyler Elementary School, and my question to you is what can we do to prevent, or what can you guys do to prevent like energy blackouts, because that's been happening a lot in California. And you know, there's a lot of neighborhoods and the schools and everything right around that main area that's being built, and my concern is for the energy blackouts and how much water is going to be used because of the water cooling for, you know, the data centers. And then my second question is, how can we increase walkability in Gainesville? Because there's the whole Haymarket side that is very walkable and accessible, but then the other side towards Linton Hall is very hard to access, and especially going towards the school, there's basically no path, and it's very dangerous to walk on the road.
Yeah.
So I was wondering what you guys could do for that.
No, I think that's a great question. The first question is about data centers and their impact on the community, specifically about water, and then when there's, I think, a pollution element close to Tyler Elementary. And then I'll probably, someone who's done a lot on walkability and sustainability, I might punt the second question over to Delegate Maldonado here. But so I sit on a lot of data center panels. I'm usually the other side. They'll have like the industry on one end, and then I'm in the other, who's always gnawing at the industry to do better. And I will tell you that the area you're talking about is called the Village Place Technology Park. And when I go to panels in Virginia, and then when I'm on remote panels that are even outside of Virginia, that is cited as the worst placement of a data center east of the Mississippi. Why? Because it backs up to someone's back deck of their home, and those people were there first. The data center was built later, and then across the street from the data center is Tyler Elementary School. How does that impact your students who might go to that elementary school? I'll give you a word that means nothing to many of you right now, but you're going to see it a lot in publications that come up. It's called demand response. What is demand response? Demand response is when the energy grid, like you said, gets overtaxed, and when there's not enough electricity. I'll tell you who's not going to experience the blackout: the data center. Because they have diesel generators that sit on top of the data center, and when our large utility conglomerate for multi-state compact says, hey, you all are using too much energy, we're about to have a blackout, and you need to fire those bad boys up, they do, and they send all that pollution up into the air. And if it's a hot summer day, because it usually is around noon to 4 in the afternoon when that demand response happens, and if it's a hot day, maybe not the summer because kids won't be there, but let's say spring or early fall, that smog is going to be there and go right over the playground where the kids will be at. So what can we do about it here at the Commonwealth? I can tell you right now, Delegate Maldonado and I have either personally sponsored or co-sponsored with other delegates legislation that tries to put an end to the use of diesel generators on the top of data centers. I had a bill that Delegate Maldonado voted for and that the legislature actually got passed. The governor vetoed it, but I have assurances from a Governor Spanberger that she will sign it. That is a bill that would actually restrict where you can put data centers, so that we don't have them right next to homes and schools because they're industrial buildings. And then what can you do about it? I think I heard that question come in there to play as well. I'm a Marine. I love accountability. I love being held accountable. Our exchange, love that. Love being held accountable. That's what I live for. Hold your elected officials accountable. Ask those questions. Make it uncomfortable sometimes. How we doing? Make it uncomfortable sometimes. and say, what are you doing about data centers? Because I'll tell you right now, our constituents have held us accountable. That's part of the reason we talk about it so much. But there are other delegates across the Commonwealth in both parties who are not being held accountable. So, you know I'm carrying the water on that, and it actually reminds me, I'll get to your water question here real quick. But talk to your friends that are in other districts and get them to ask their elected officials to pay attention to the data center issue. Because the last thing I'll end with here is that the energy is going to affect all of us. I mean, I'm standing next to the person who fights probably the most to make sure your bills don't go up because of the data center expansion when it comes to energy. But the way our state is structured and many states around us is, as they build more infrastructure for the data centers, we are all going to pay for it. So even if you don't have a data center in your district, that's how you can tell your friends that it's their issue. On the water piece, I'll just get real wonky with you for 1 second. On the water piece, they are building newer data centers that use a lot less water. So it's still a concern, but it's a diminishing one. But the problem is, as someone said earlier, nothing is free in this world. So if you use less water, what do you need more of? Electricity. And then all of our rates go up. So that's the real challenge. And then I think for the walkability and sustainability piece, I will toss it over to someone with even more experience on that.
That's hard to follow. That's very,
He's a
very
marine,
complete.
you know?
Yes, that's very, very complete. And I will say that just to close the, no pun intended, close the loop, on the water issue, the reason the water uptake will be diminished is because the newer facilities are using what are called closed loop systems. So instead of going outside the data center to pull water in, they're just recycling the water to cool. Now, the thing I want to just say also is that the data centers exist because we have phones that hold things in the cloud. Like, it's not separate from our activities, from our business demands. And so as we do this, as we hold them accountable, the argument they say is, but we're just serving what you all are asking for. And I think that's a false choice, that we have to figure out how to do it responsibly while we also serve customers. So in terms of walkability and sustainability, there's a couple things. We've probably seen in the city of Manassas, we have new bike trails down Grant Avenue and some other places down going towards Georgetown South and the Public Safety Building. We're having new walkability areas. I think those things are really important. When we talk about walkability in Josh's district, I don't know what that looks like because we do have the gateway. That's town center. It's not walking through the community. I think what's really important to have is paths, right? Walking paths, bike lanes, all those things. Those things also come up quite a bit in the legislature, particularly bike lanes. We have somebody who's an avid cyclist in the city of Manassas who brings things forward every single session. And the challenge is getting the money for sort of through Parks and Recreation and providing transportation to build trails that we may not have right now, or to restore them, or to create bike lanes. Now, creating bike lanes, I just want you to know, I don't know about you, but we have a lot of aggressive drivers here who don't like cyclists on the road and are very aggressive when cyclists are riding their bikes on the road. So it's not even just, we do need to put things in place. We need to find the funding for that. But we also have to educate and train a new habit for drivers to learn to share the road, and so that people can.
Delegate Michelle Maldonado, Elizabeth Guzman, Delegate Josh Thomas, as well as if you're in Gainesville, there's another person as well. You can take this with you when you go to vote. You can take a picture of this, you can write it in your notebook, so please don't feel like you can't take this with you when you go to vote. If you live in Manassas City, this will be really quick. The sooner I can do this, the sooner we can all eat momo. This is your sample ballot. We have Delegate Michelle Maldonado, and we also have Tim over there. Tim, can you raise your hand? For Commissioner of Revenue. So this is your sample ballot that you can also take with you as well. If you live in Manassas Park, we are once again Delegate Michelle Maldonado, and then we also have another member, Kevin, as well, who's running on the council level. So please, any staff members from any of the campaigns, would you mind raising your hand? If you do not know who you're voting for, where to vote, please reach out to one of us. We can help you right here figure out who your choices are, what are your polling locations. We can just get you the information and you go back to your families and make the best choice for yourself.